Fox 61 News at 5 starts now.
Well, right now at 5, slow down, move over. Lawmakers renewing calls to address a rise in deaths on the road. We're hearing from a tow truck operator who was almost killed while answering a roadside call.
Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy.
Calls tonight to publicly release the FBI search warrant for former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Attorney General Merrick Garland speaks for the first time since that raid.
My opponent's way outside the mainstream of Connecticut thinking.
Senator Richard Blumenthal speaking out after Leora Levy's surprising primary win. What he's saying about his opponent ahead of the general election.
Well, I said, well, it's either going to be here or in the car. So I figured at home might be a little bit better.
A Fox 61 exclusive. A new father helps deliver his twins with the help of first responders. We're talking to the family about the experience they'll never forget.
Thanks for joining us here on the News at 5. I'm Ben Goldman.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Another nice day across the state. Meteorologist Ryan Breton joining us now with what we can expect for the weekend. All eyes on the weekend, Ryan.
Sarah and Ben, they sure are, and the weekend around here is looking pretty good. Tonight, we may have a shower or two that pops up. No showers around at the moment, but look at what's going on to our north. There's a line of some showers and even a few thunderstorms in upstate New York up toward the Champlain Valley of Vermont. And this is a front which is coming south. It might trigger a shower around here tonight, but most areas will stay dry. 86 in Hartford right now. It's 85 in New Haven, 82 in Chester. It is still quite humid near and along the shoreline, but nice and comfortable inland. As that front comes in tonight, it will start to drive this less humid air all the way down to the shoreline. So even there, it will start feeling more comfortable. If you have plans this evening, you're in good shape. It's still very warm through the evening hours. Overnight, we'll dip into the 60s. Again, maybe a few showers possible this evening through about midnight. Low temperature in Hartford, 66, 63 in Meriden, 68 in New Haven, and 61 in the Northwest Hills in Torrington. Friday looks nice. A mix of sunshine and clouds, a lower humidity right to the shoreline with that northerly wind. High temperatures in the lower to mid 80s for most of us. As for the weekend, it's looking nice. Comfortable, low humidity, and then changes ahead next week. We'll talk about the chances for rain and which days may be the wettest coming up in about 15 minutes.
Ryan, thank you. Well, the Connecticut law known as slow down, move over has been in effect since 2009, but because emergency responders, especially those tending to drivers along highways, are still being killed, stakeholders held a reminder press conference today.
Yeah, the Connecticut law known as slow down, move over has been in effect since 2009, and Senator Richard Blumenthal recently introduced a resolution to create a national slow down, move over day because roughly every 4.5 days a first responder is struck and killed on the job.
Fox 61's Tony Terzi joining us live along 95. Hi, Tony.
Richard Blumenthal, the senator, was among the many folks that were at New Haven Police Department today talking about the urgency to get people to finally pay attention and leave space between them and first responders. Connecticut's highways are full of examples of disregard for the state's slow down, move over law.
AAA did a survey that reports nearly half of drivers who admit that they don't comply with move over laws think their actions are not dangerous.
Even though the posted speed limits are 40 miles an hour through the work zones, the average speed of the motoring public is 68 miles per hour.
The law states that motorists must slow down and move over, leaving one lane between your vehicle and a first responder or road crew.
I just look at it as just people just don't care.
Kevin Smith and a co-worker were seriously injured in a roadside crash 5 years ago.
You can't describe the feeling of seeing your life flash before your eyes.
And he says he sees a lot on our roadways.
You see people texting. I've seen people reading books, doing makeup, feeding their kids, getting dressed.
In 1995, while working in Greenwich, I was struck in a work zone by a drunk driver. Although I live in severe pain every moment of my life, I'm extremely lucky.
That was not the case for Corey Iodice, a tow operator killed in 2020 by a drunk, speeding Dean Robert. who was recently sentenced to 4.5 years in prison.
I am also a tow truck driver with 40 years of experience. I can tell you how dangerous it is. Every time I get out of my truck, I think to myself, I hope today's not the day I get run over.
Boy, you could just see the pain on the face of Chris Iodice and his wife Kristen today. Their whole family just distraught. But they're doing something positive, starting a nationwide initiative called Flagman, whose mission includes K through 12 educational initiatives and also safety initiatives, telling people how to be on the lookout themselves to keep themselves in a safer position. We're live here in Brantford along I-95. I'm Tony Terzi, Fox 61 News.
Welcome back here. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced today that the Justice Department has asked a court to unseal the search warrant the FBI received before searching the Florida estate of former President Donald Trump.
Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing.
Garland also said that he personally approved the search warrant, which was part of an ongoing Justice Department investigation into the discovery of classified White House records recovered from Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida, earlier this year.
Back here at home, crews are thankful no one was injured after a building collapsed on Broad Street in Meriden yesterday. Now, this building was torn down this morning to prevent any damage to neighboring homes. Now starts a long process of picking up the pieces. Fox 61's Lindsay Kane has details.
It's the timing that saved lives.
The wall on that side was unstable as it was on this side.
A building partially collapsed on Broad Street in Meriden Tuesday evening, just 3 hours after a building inspector ordered the crew renovating the building to leave, saying the structure was too unsafe.
The building was not secure, so 3 hours later, the roof collapsed and then everything went down.
Luckily, no injuries were reported. Had it not been for the inspector, crews would have still been inside when the roof caved in.
Not even a car, not even nothing get damaged, not person get injured, so that was a good thing.
The building has been abandoned for 12 years, but was bought just 3 months ago by Jose Cusnia, who planned to build new apartments.
We know it was in really bad condition, so we were trying to with my wife's company, we're trying to fix it.
Meriden Fire Chief Ken Morgan says when the building partially collapsed, the risk of it damaging the apartment homes just feet away was that much greater.
The gas meters were all on that side, so that was a big concern with us. Obviously, we were concerned about the residents that were in there.
For the demolition team, the process of safely taking down the rest of the building was slow and steady.
It was very challenging. First off, it was nighttime. Secondly, you had the north and the south wall. They started to bow out because we didn't want to damage a perfect building like this.
Nearby residents evacuated to the fire department until they could return to their homes. Chief Morgan says the city is already assessing other abandoned buildings to make sure something like this doesn't happen again.
To have an inventory of all the buildings and the condition they're in is always a plus for us.
The plan from here is to build a new apartment complex from the ground up. Crews will continue to be on scene here on Broad Street to clean up the remaining debris. In Meriden, Lindsay Kane, Fox 61 News.
State police are seeking witnesses after a car crashes and bursts into flames in Middlefield, killing the driver. Officials found the car fully engulfed in flames off Miller Road, adjacent to the Apple 9 golf course. It's believed the driver crashed and hit a tree. The victim's identity has not been released, but anyone with information should contact state police. And police say a Hartford man is recovering after being stabbed on Barber Street just after 9 last night. They believe the victim was stabbed after a fight that broke out inside Blue's package store. Authorities say he was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries to his neck and arm.
Well, we learned today that the New Canaan Police Department responded to a man on fire late last night. The officers responded to Lapham Road, which runs through Waveney Park. That's where they discovered a human body that was fully engulfed in flames. The fire department was able to put that fire out, but the investigation into the incident is still ongoing. A car connected to the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos was found in that same park back in 2019, but police say that this incident is not connected to the Dulos case.
Enfield police are investigating yesterday's homicide of 55-year-old Christopher Kennedy, who's now been identified as part of the town's homeless population. Kennedy's body was found inside a gazebo on the town green early Wednesday morning. No suspect has been named, but police urge anyone with information to give them a call.
An airplane was diverted to Bradley International Airport this morning in an emergency landing after the crew reported some issues with the engine. The flight landed at approximately 9:25 this morning. There was no impact to airport operations. The flight originated from Portland, Maine, and was headed to Westchester County Airport in White Plains, New York. The FAA is continuing to investigate. And new today, the governor speaking about the impact one new piece of legislation might have on Connecticut. He was talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. It was just passed through the Senate, and it's now en route to the House. The legislation is meant to tackle many issues, chief among them inflation, along with reducing health care costs.
Look, we have a long way to go on inflation, but I think the Inflation Reduction Act is making a big difference, will make a big difference. And it's a big difference not just this year, but at least for the next few years.
Well, the Lamont says that the legislation would reduce health care costs over time for Connecticut residents. The House is expected to vote on the act by the end of this week.